your vision.
You talk about a guy who, whenever he's in front of a microphone, has the ability to generate joy and hope amongst the fan base. It is Arturas Karnisovas.
Hey, you fired up?
Winning friends and influencing people. And we made a commitment when we just recorded the latest installment of the Organizations Win Championships podcast, which is just out, by the way, red hot this morning. It's a terrific episode that includes a full breakdown of the free agent signings, the Vooch contract, the application for relief in the Lonzo deal, a full accounting of the Summer League roster, and all kinds of stray shots at Jim Boylan.
Well, guess what? You have a radio show that's live right now.
So what I will say is we made this deal before we recorded that we weren't going to let it devolve into misery, that we were going to try to do everything on its merits, and we weren't going to let everything spiral into Bulls fatalism, because otherwise every episode would end that way.
Well, as I said, you have a live radio show right now where we're talking about the Bulls.
I know.
So let me ask you, I know how you feel about Jevon Carter. I think we're in lockstep on that. Do you like the moves that the Bulls have made?
In a vacuum. I like a lot of it. I think that the Vooch contract in and of itself, I didn't do 3 years, but $20 million a year for 18 and 11.
And when that new CBA kicks in, that's
right. That's not an onerous contract. I love the Jevon Carter signing. I love the Torrey Craig signing.
Why?
Because he's a veteran, hardworking, reliable, durable 3-and-D guy. And I think he was well ahead of his career percentage last year, so that might have been an outlier year, close to 40%, but that's a pro. I just wish it mattered more, because the mix still doesn't work. You got to move DeMar. You have to.
I know that you feel that way, Dan, and you're probably right. But when the team is putting out videos of guys going out to L.A. and working out with DeMar at 5 a.m, does that feel like a franchise is thinking about moving DeMar?
No, I'm resigned to the fact that they're probably not going to. But this could work. You could look at this all if you got him off the roster and you let it breathe. You could see something that would start to make a little bit of sense, because they've got some pieces here. I still don't know where the rim protection is coming from. I saw Bull got waived, which is kind of an intriguing skill set, but I don't know how much money
they did not like him in Orlando.
No, they didn't.
Also, how cool is that? Like, Candace has been so ubiquitous that one day I was like, "Hey, where's Anthony Parker?" And you look up. Now he's the general manager of the Orlando Magic. Good for him.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to be honest about everything the Bulls are doing and everything that AK's saying without getting depressed, without falling back into, but it's all getting older, and it wasn't very good, and they don't have any cap space.
Okay,
and no draft picks.
Let's flip this around for a second. Let's take a trip outside of Negative Town for just a minute.
I will do that. I want to do that. I want to stay out of Negative Town.
I mean, it's hard. It's going to be difficult because around every corner, it's right there. Is there a way that currently constructed, the Bulls can make it work? If there was a way, what would it look like?
It would involve, as we've talked about before.
And by the way, let's define making it work as avoiding the play-in.
45 wins?
Yeah. Let's 6 seed.
How do you get to 45 wins? I think you find some back-end rim protection inexpensively, however you need to do it. Just get somebody you can trust to block a shot. And somehow you got to get through to DeMar as a coach or as an organization. We're not going to walk the ball up. We're not going to slow possessions down and stop the ball. You'll be and you sit Zach and DeMar down and talk about endgame situations. But I know you're just not going to change DeMar's game. It's a game that we used to know doesn't work in the playoffs, that now we know doesn't work in the regular season either as much.
I mean, it works.
The numbers are there. His individual numbers are there, but it doesn't work.
What he does work, it does not work for modern NBA offense,
Correct.
which is what you're trying to do. So, all right. So you said get through to DeMar. Do you think Billy is capable of that?
I don't know, because I've doubted his desire to fight some of those battles. I've learned that he can, after a game, he can tell you exactly what happened and why it happened, and then doesn't really do the stuff he should be empowered to do as the coach to fix it.
It does feel like he's decided that the way to NBA longevity is through being a player's coach. Let me support my stars. What's striking is, even when it offends his basketball sensibilities, we've played those press conferences from Billy where you can tell that he's miffed, but it just feels like he won't take the steps to change the behavior of the guys that he's miffed at. Like, how do you do it? Like, how? That's what I mean, where it's tough to not turn to negative town on this. Because I'm not convinced that the guys that are in charge didn't get over promoted.
And I know Billy knows better. He knows basketball. He's too smart, and you hear him talk about it, but he talks as if he's just a guy who happens to be watching the game from that seat.
Yeah, he talks a lot of times, and I value this as someone who believes in content creation. I value that he does his post games as if he is an analyst. And it's almost like when you get answers from Billy wants to at some point go, well, why don't you ask the coach? That's you.
Why does this keep happening? These things that you say shouldn't happen.
And it's almost
what
like
can
Billy,
you do to make them not happen as much?
It's like Billy's looking over his shoulder like, I'm not the guy to answer that. You guys should ask the coach. I'm just the color analyst.
If somehow they could minimize the effect of DeMar's individual game on the team offense, they could be okay.
Texter asked what I think is a very provocative question. Can DeMar be on the second unit and run the offense through him while the first unit runs the offense through Vooch? I think that's a better idea than what they're doing now, convincing DeMar to come off the bench. I don't know how that's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
You could cursory start him, right? Play him 4 minutes. Have him be the guy that's coming off the bench with the second unit. I don't know.
Who was the guy? Who was the Thibodeau small forward who they did that with? He would stand in the corner when they'd run flex. Why can't I think of his name off the top of my head?
Ice.
He'd stand in the corner, the veteran, and he would start the game, and that was it. Come on.
You never see him again?
Every once in a while. Who am I thinking? Come on.
I don't know.
You know, God darn it. I'm going to have to look that up. But you know who I'm talking about.
Texters will help us. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, the veteran.
Thad?
No, before then, the veteran small forward, he could make a standstill three every once in a while. It was when they ran the flex offense stuff.
Marko Simonovic.
And he would cut in, and then he'd cut toward the corner. God darn it.
Big Ben
yes,
Gordon
Keith Bogans.
with a torch.
Keith Bogans. Thank you. Thank you, 815. Yes.
See?
There's your cursory starter, and Keith Bogans is the perfect example of that. And especially...
Not Otto Porter.
If you are committing to starting Kobe White as your point guard.
We don't know they're committed to that.
But let's say you are. You've got Carter here if you need to be, but let's just say part of this is Kobe's going to be your point guard. Moving DeMar to the second unit accomplishes two things. Because you're going to leave in a starter, and it might be Patrick you leave in on the second unit. Because that could work too. If you have Patrick as the second unit stay in like they used to do with Deng, and you say, look, Patrick, DeMar's going to do his DeMar stuff. You go clean up everything. You go get anything you can get.
Go attack.
Go attack. Run, attack. Go get whatever you can get anywhere and back cut, because DeMar will find you on a back cut. So do that, and it takes away the responsibility of a developing point guard decision maker to have to worry about, am I feeding DeMar enough?
I mean,
it's not a terrible idea. I just don't think...
If you ran a second unit that has Javon Carter and DeMar and P. Will out there, that's a pretty solid second unit that you could throw at
Yeah,
people.
he'd never do it.
That's the
I
problem.
don't think DeMar would ever do it, and that's why you got to move him.
Who could convince him? Do you feel confident enough? Like, to me, it would be almost binary, where if I'm AK, if I'm Acme, and I'm Billy, the three of us are going to go see DeMar. We're going to fly out to Los Angeles. DeMar, this is what we think is best for us. We would like to make you the guy that ignites our second unit. We know that you are an all-star in this league. You're one of the most respected players in this league. We need this. You know what's happened here. You know what's gone on with Lonzo. We need you to help develop Patrick Williams on the floor. And that's what we have envisioned. If he balks at the idea, you're trading him. That's to me, the binary.
I'm down.
You go and offer this opportunity to DeMar if you're convinced that it's what will make you better. He says no. Thank you. We appreciate your honesty. We have to do what's best for the Bulls.
There's a third option, though.
Okay.
He says yes, but doesn't mean it.
That's
And
something that
and
we think we may have seen a little bit of last year.
And he does it grudgingly, but he's miserable.